Welcome back to the Hill Sunday. How high are the stakes for Friday's Alaska summit, and how optimistic should we be about America's options for peace? Kurt Volker is the former U.S. ambassador to NATO under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama, former U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations under President Trump during his first term. Ambassador, we thank you for making time for us today. Are these talks, when you think about these talks, is this Putin playing for time? Or do you expect real consequence out of this? How do you foresee this?
Yeah, so far this is just Putin playing for time. You remember that President Trump had set a deadline for very tough tariffs and sanctions, secondary sanctions, which expired on Friday. It was originally 50 days, then 10 days. And then what has Putin done? He hasn't given anything at all. He hasn't agreed to a ceasefire. His demands, the proposal that he put forward, are basically to keep everything that he's got and get even more given to him. So there's no movement on Putin's part at all. And this is just a way for him to say, okay, let's have another show. Let's do something else. Let's have a meeting. And it's still not producing any results because he still feels he can continue this war.
Okay, NATO has been coordinating regular deliveries of large weapons packages to Ukraine. It seems to really be flowing. Most of those weapons have been bought from the United States. Has that, by your understanding, changed the construct of this conflict? Does that fight for time look any different now that Ukraine has more and different armaments?
Yeah, it's a help. It's a big help. There are two things that we need to do to get Putin to agree to end the war. The first is to demonstrate that he's not going to win militarily, that Ukraine is only going to get stronger. Russia is never going to succeed militarily. So having NATO and NATO countries buy American weapons, deliver them to Ukraine, and make clear that that is a pathway that is going to be open for as long as needed, as long as it's paid for, that is a very important signal to Putin that he's not going to win. The second thing is on the economy. We've got to dry up the resources that are flowing into the Kremlin's budget that he uses to pay for this war, and that's where the sanctions and the tariffs need to kick in.
Oh, well, to that point, the economic boom in Russia at the beginning of state spending at the start of the war is over. The Russian economy is expected to grow at maybe 1 or 2% this year, down from nearly 5 points last year. And maybe, as you allude, most crucial, oil revenue is down, down, down. Does Moscow have enough money to keep fighting in Ukraine at this current pace?
Not really, no. I think they can probably continue through the end of this year. They're drawing down their existing foreign exchange reserves, but when they run out, they're not able to go to international capital markets and just get more money. They would be dependent on somebody like China to give them a loan, perhaps, if China would do that. But they are actually drawing down their own reserves in order to keep this war going. And I think that we should be piling on to that in order to convince Putin that now's the time to end the war.
How much would you think the Ukrainians be willing to give up territorially in exchange for some ironclad guarantee of security? Is that what the calculus is here?
Well, I think that there's several pieces at play. And again, what Putin proposed is simply to keep everything he's already got, get Ukraine to give him more, and then he would say, oh, now we'll do a ceasefire, which no one believes. So we have to flip this around. A ceasefire first. Then what Putin originally took back in 2014 is Crimea and Donbas, the eastern part of Ukraine. He's now taken more than that. Provinces called Zaporizhia and Kherson. He has part of each of those. What I think Ukraine would find acceptable is to have Russia continue to occupy the Donbas and maybe even Crimea, but not recognize it as Russian territory. It's not legitimately Russia. It's just a status of occupation. But for them to get out of Kherson and Zaporizhia, particularly Zaporizhia, where that power plant is.
Okay. Ambassador Volker, we thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.